People who never went to their class reunions? Why? Story 1. Didn't want to be there as a kid, so had no desire to return. This is the answer. I've skipped all of my class reunions and never regretted it, but one of my friends decided to go to a class reunion a few years back. He said it was amazing, or scary if you will, how quickly old group dynamics reemerged, even 30+ years later. The guys and gals who made up the in crowd back around 88 and 89 had mainly peaked at 16. Everyone acted much more mature, obviously, but he said the whole affair got really cliquey really quick. Like I said, I never regretted not going. I never went to any of my high school reunions until last year for the 50th. Really didn't expect to see many people I really remembered from high school, since if I wanted to remain friends with them, I would have kept the friendship alive. The one thing that did happen, which I could relate to your comment about cliques, is I did end up talking quite a bit to the guys who were on the same sports team, which would seem natural as a high school time. We spent 2 to 3 hours a day for 4 months. So when you consider that most people who haven't really spent any time together over the past 50 years, the former associations would be the friendships reunited, hence the cliques. In the years since then, I have talked to these guys again. Have I talked to these guys again? Nope, just familiar faces at the reunion. Okay, as someone who's still in high school, is the reunion held/organized in the school or something? Or is it something that individual kids or adults now, I don't know, hold for their buddies? I've always wondered this. I graduated in 2009. My 10-year reunion was organized by a few volunteers from our year via a Facebook group. My school wasn't involved at all. You either had to be in the Facebook group or be buddies with one of the organizers to know it was happening. My current friends from other places all seem to have experienced the same for their reunions. Personally, I don't have Facebook, so I missed it entirely, but I also moved 3,000 miles away, and they held it at the only bar in town, which is/was a total crap heap, so probably wouldn't have made the trip anyway. Haha. Both of my siblings moved away, and it's really interesting to me to see how they tend to revert to their 16-year-old selves when we're all back in town for the holidays and such. Growing up, we were 3 kids in 3 separate bedrooms. One bedroom was converted into miscellaneous storage after we all moved out. One bedroom started as the oldest sister's, then the youngest sister moved into it when the older sister moved out for college, so each of them felt it was their bedroom. Yeah, the fights over which of them slept in their bed and which had to sleep in the other bedroom, which had been mine growing up, while I just tried to stay the hell out of it and sleep on the air mattress in the spare room, were fun. It's funny, I hung around with the car guys. Well, the car guys are mostly still car guys, but the cars are a hell of a lot more expensive, and everyone regrets selling the cars they drove in high school. Edit, to keep this in context, this was in the late 1970s. A gallon of gas was somewhere between 65 cents and 85 cents. A 5 or 6 year old American-made car was already being turned over and starting to rust in the Northeast. 7 to 9 year old cars were dirt cheap, and the province of high school students who keep them running. Bondo was your friend, junkyards were full of decent parts for these things, and we all had jobs. Why wouldn't everyone reunite with their old friends? It's 100% the most natural thing to do. Most people were really only friends with just a small selection of people, and the rest were basically acquaintances. Why would that be surprising, though? People tend to congregate with those they feel most comfortable. At a reunion, people would feel more comfortable with the cliques they made in high school. It's not like a nerd would suddenly find themselves comfortable to hang around a jock. Both would probably just seek out the handful of folks from their own group that they lost touch with. Yeah, I really can't imagine if I had gone to either of my high school reunions, my 10 or 20 year, I don't imagine that I would go and, seek out the people that I didn't hang out with in high school. Why? Well, I mean, I guess we're older, we're different people now. Maybe we might get along. I'm certainly a different person than I was in high school, so I guess I might reconnect a little bit, but I don't know. I was also super cool and everyone loved me. No. Story 2. First of all, I wasn't invited. I'm still as invisible to them as I was back then. Second of all, F those clowns. Same here. My parents still live in the same house. They have the same phone number. No one who organized any of their reunions ever tried to contact me, even though it would have been easy. I never got the opportunity to turn them down. Same here. I wanted the invite, just to say no. My 20th birthday is supposedly this year, but radio silence. I don't recall being invited to my 10th. I guess my 20th is this spring, 2024, but I doubt I'll go. I slightly regret not going to my 10th, only because I found out afterwards that the younger Pete from Pete and Pete was there. He had married one of the women from my high school class, but in retrospect, that's a dumb reason to go. Did love the show as a kid, though. Yep, it was organized over Facebook, and I didn't know the right people. My 10th year is coming up the next year. Apparently, there's something being planned in an alumni Facebook group. I wasn't even aware that group existed, and I'm not even remotely interested in joining something like that. One of my buddies started listing off people from high school recently. I had legitimately forgotten about all but one of them entirely, so I completely understand how they might have forgotten about me. I didn't like those people 10 years ago. Why would I care what they're doing now? There are other chapters of my life that I'd be more likely to attend a reunion. High school was not the peak for me. LOL, me too. I wasn't invited to the 5-year reunion, and I still lived in the same town. I randomly worked with an old classmate, and she told me that the official list had me under could not find. It was just so hilariously petty. I considered writing a note to suggest that they simply consult the local directory for my name, but decided I didn't care enough. A 5-year reunion is insane. Half the people I know from high school all went to the same college and kept in touch, so what would be the point? If they actually organize a 10-year reunion for my class, I might go. My parents and in-laws still live in the area, so that would just be part of a visit anyway. I'm pretty sure an old friend of mine marked me as deceased. Whatever he did, it sure stopped the fundraising phone calls. Story 3. Because F them, that's why. Yep, was bullied in school. F those effers. Graduation was the happiest day in my life because I knew I never had to see any of them again. And I've stuck to that. It's been good. I have a distinct memory of people bawling and crying like it was the end of the world. My antisocial self was baffled at all this. In 2006, we did a senior walkout and the girl behind me was bawling. Mind you, we had prom that night. I turned around and was like, for real? We're seeing these people tonight. Plot twist. She realized her friendship wouldn't survive, no longer being forced to interact 5 days a week. Same. My 20th reunion happened last year and I didn't know about it. One of my homies told me I was voted most hard to find. My 20th is this year. Maybe I'll go when we're all in walkers just to see who's still alive. I will say, I think it's totally valid to be like, F them. I didn't like them then and I won't like them now. Like, people can change. I will say, I've known so many people who, like, out of high school, those early 20s formative years, they really kind of became their own. And a lot of those people might be almost unrecognizable in some ways. Not everyone stays stagnant to who they were, but at the same time, you are under no obligation to find out if they have changed. To heck with them. If they sucked in high school, you don't owe them the benefit of the doubt now. Story 4. I don't care about the people I went to school with. Same. Who cares? I stayed in touch with those I cared about. The end. I cared about them then, but that time of my life is over. I married my favorite one, and so we have a reunion every day. Exactly this. I still talk to one person I hung out with in high school. When our 10th year came around, she texted me asking if I was going, and I said no, so she didn't sign up either. This year was the 20th, and we both completely forgot about it until it was already over. Oops. Same. Before I moved cross-country, I think I still talked to maybe 2 people I went to high school with. Now it's no one. I have zero interest in revisiting that time as it wasn't a good one, and those people mean nothing. Story 5. I keep in touch with the people from high school I want to keep in touch with. No need to go to a mediocre event and be judged by others. Living in the age of Facebook, everyone I care about from high school, I know what's going on in their lives already. Anyone I actually want to interact with, I already do. This point came up in another thread, and the truth is reunions are quite superfluous nowadays. It's not like graduating high school in the 70s or 80s and everyone goes their separate ways, never to be heard from. You can dial in almost anyone you went to class with and see what they're doing now. I, aughts grad, had a small 10 turnout for our year reunion, and we didn't even do a 20-year. Plus, our year hated itself, LOL. One of my friends started listing off people he was curious about the other day, and one by one we looked them up. The answer for almost all of them was they got married and have kids now. Took less than 10 minutes to find out what a dozen people were up to these days. I don't need to attend a high school reunion, thanks. That's more or less what I did for the classmates I was curious about, and every 4 to 5 years. It literally takes 8 to 10 minutes, and you know all you need to know. Kind of funny, and a little sad. Yeah, I think this is the thing that a lot of younger generations are finding out. Like, the internet was really becoming a thing in my generation. I graduated in 2002, when the internet was really becoming like a solid thing now. And with like Facebook becoming a thing and all that kind of stuff, I think we all kind of questioned, like, what is the point of a reunion? But we still tried to have them. People still showed up. But I think more and more younger generations are going, what is the point of this? To catch up, I have the internet. And that wasn't always the case. And I think we're all kind of learning that now. Story 6. I stay in touch with my best buddies from high school and university and don't care enough about anyone else to make the effort of traveling for a reunion. This is exactly how I feel too. I live in the next town over, and it still wasn't worth it to drive the 8 miles to my reunion. Story 7. The F I want to hang out with losers for. If I haven't found a reason to contact an entire group of people for a decade, I don't see a reason to suddenly want to spend an evening with them. I got crap to do. Story 8. I don't want to relive sitting by myself in the cafeteria all over again. Same. F that time of my life in particular. I'm sorry. I tell my kids to be extra nice to those kids who are isolated. Some people just enjoy being alone, but others might be living a nightmare. Be kind to everyone, but especially those who seem lonely. Story 9. My graduating class had 1,400 people in it. They chose a fancy restaurant for the reunion that was $100 plus per person to attend. I'd rather paint my house with a Q-tip than pay that much to see people I don't care about. Not as bad, but I graduated with 450 people, and I didn't even know most of them then. I personally think class reunions are for people who want to brag about how much money they have or how great their kids are. Show off the new plastic surgery. Why the F would I go to something like that? Later, losers! I graduated from a class of 35 people. They held the 25th reunion at the one bar in the tiny town I'm from. That's not my idea of fun. 12 people went. There were 2 people I'd want to talk to there, and I kept in touch with them. There's no reason to go. It was people standing around in the parking lot in late June, so miserable, drinking crappy beer. I'm not traveling for that. Wow, this sounds like what mine would be like. Next year is a 20th. I have you beat at 18 people for the whole class. I also keep in touch with 2 and could care less about the rest. I cannot imagine having a graduating class of 1,400 people. That's mind-blowing to me. I had slightly over 10% of that, I think. I want to say my graduating class was like 160 some, and that seemed like enough. That was too much. It was too much to keep track of. I certainly didn't know everyone, and to gamble on going to a high school reunion with that many people, like, there's a good chance I'm just gonna go there, and it's going to be 100% strangers, especially with my memory and how bad I was and am with socializing. Story 10. Are class reunions a thing in the time of social media? We can find out everything we want from everyone we ever met should we choose to do so. I have 4 groups from high school. 1, my real friends with whom I always have stayed in touch. 2, my high school friends for whom I am curious how their life is going, but Facebook is sufficient resource for that. 3, those people who I could care less about. And 4, those people I have absolutely no memory of. I assume before social media, reunions were useful for reconnecting with group 2. Now there's no need. That's the same with me. I'm in contact with everyone from high school I want to be, and if I get curious about anyone, I ask friends who would know. The rest? Nah. Not really. Some of us don't publish our lives online. Story 11. I don't need a reason to not do something. This is the one. I need a good reason to go do something. There simply isn't a good reason for me to go to a high school reunion. I literally never think about high school. I've forgotten most of what happened while I was there, no exaggeration. It didn't leave much of an impression on me. It would be like asking why you don't go to the company picnic for a job you had 20 years ago. Story 12. I hated high school. Couldn't wait to get out. Hated where I grew up. Felt like a caged animal. My life only got better after leaving there. Didn't look back and don't want to look back. Now 55 and retired with lots of good years in front of me. This is relatable. Plus, I already know how all of those people from high school are doing. They're all wasting away their lives in a crappy small town, still living out the same drama from 12 years ago. And I'd rather not hear all about their latest MLM bullcrap. Enjoy your retirement. Oh my God, the multi-level marketing people are such a real thing, and it drives me nuts. I've had a couple people from back in high school that I was like, we weren't like friends hanging out all the time, but we were acquaintances. We'd hang out and chat a little bit. And suddenly I get some messages from them on Facebook like, hey man, what you up to? It's been a while. And I'm always like, how fun to hear from this person. We got along pretty well. I wonder what they're up to. They're up to multi-level marketing. It's what they're always up to. It's all they're ever up to. And oh my gosh, stop it. Story 13. Class reunions are borderline pointless nowadays. Used to be you didn't see high school, college acquaintances for 10 years, but with social media, you tend to see them too much. This is the real answer. I could understand some type of curiosity for them, but nowadays, if I care, I can see what they're all up to. Story 14. Life isn't a sitcom, and this is in the 1960s where kids knew everyone in town. I graduated with 800 plus other people, and we weren't even the biggest school around. What difference does it make 20 years later if the people that actually knew me then know me now when we weren't good enough friends to keep up in the first place? Literally, the only reason to go is if you peaked in high school and need the validation one more time before you hit 40. How sad. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.